Thank you for choosing our Patio Heat channel. I'm Steve. We provide tips and information to extend the enjoyment of your patio project. Our videos give you a knowledgeable overview prior to investing in your outdoor heating equipment. Whether you are a professional or owner-builder, we provide specific details for optimum heat coverage for your application. Post a comment or question, or for developed visual designs, send your request into designs@patioheat.com. We're here to work with you. For over 30 years, patio heating is the bedrock of our business, expressing what works best. Now let's get heating. All right, so we have this covered patio section in a colder climate, we believe. Let's go first of all into the overall dimensions that we have. So we have this dimension of 16 foot by 12 foot, and then I have a ceiling height from the finished floor at 8 foot off the finished floor to the upper ceiling portion here. I can see that there's a deck section on this side here, but this is a flat ceiling over here. And let's go ahead and look at what we can do for this application. So you can see that the seating positions here are rather just, two basic seating positions. And what we want to do is kind of look at, this is basically why we do 3D animated videos rather than just a 2D drawing for someone to look at. There are several combustible pieces of material that we need to address, and even though the client would like to have a heater placed over here and heat up this seating position here, we need to kind of address all of what would be important, and that's why we do this 3D animated video section here. So let's go into first of all what they may wish for, and I think what they're looking for is something like where they could place a unit up here on this beam. So this is a slimline 4,000 watt unit, and when you place a slimline 4,000 watt unit on a vertical surface like this, the maximum tilt that you can actually produce from straight down to the ground out would be 45 degrees. And would this work? Yes, it would work, and it will probably cover the area fairly decently. Let's go ahead and look at that coverage. And just a side note, I placed the unit between that 16-foot center. So the center point right here is where the center point of the heater is. And I made sure that we have 6 inches of clearance from the top edge of the heater all the way up. And if you had noticed before, I did have this dimension here written that states that I have this at 12 inches. We do have some room that if it's less than 12 inches, we might be able to still produce the heater in this position. And looking at the 4,000 watt unit, you can see that the 4,000 watt unit would cover this space okay. In colder climates, however, the distance that this ray has got to go or travel might be too far away from the seating positions that I have. And you can see that there was an image I received where I can see the beam, and I placed this beam in the center of that 12-foot section, and I placed the chairs just off center to that beam there. You can see that kind of that seating position there. However, on a colder day, could you actually just move the chairs up a little bit further? Yeah, you could do that, and that would be more intense heat as you get closer and closer to the unit. However, on a 45-degree angle, you can see that the coverage is really no coverage right below the heater itself. So this is something to keep in mind when you are looking at placing a heater. Let's just say that you are going to place it on the back wall, something of that nature. That seating position has to be in the outer edge or the inner edge here, not within that 2 feet of section. Otherwise, you won't feel the warmth at all. So this would work, but in a cold climate, I would say it's not intense enough. So I'm going to go ahead and go into the next option that I would recommend, or Actually, this is not a recommendation, but I want to kind of show you. So here's actually the manual when you do an install, and this is the CD series. So any C series model does require that when it's on a wall mount, that it has to come down 12 inches from the ceiling. See, from the ceiling here. And so if I was to try to place the CD series 6,000 watt unit, this would be a nice unit, but the intensity isn't hot enough, or excuse me, the height of 12 inches from this point here to this point here is the same height as this beam, so there's no way of actually placing this on something like this. So that's one thing, but the intensity is the proper intensity for this seating position here in the middle. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that off because that doesn't work. And let's look at maybe placing a unit here on the ceiling. And on the ceiling at 30 degrees, that would be nice. However, the only issue I have here is that the clearances below on a ceiling mount unit has to meet this 18 inches of clearance from this point here out, and this beam is sitting here, so the only way we could truly do this properly, and I'm going to show the all the images here, but we would have to come out to this point right here. Let's see if I can do that properly, and that would be the proper location for the unit itself, mounted on the ceiling, 30-degree tilt, and the intensity would be very, very nice. You might even want to use a duplex switch where you can turn one element on, so you're running 3,000 watts, or two elements on, 6,000 watts, or even use a control system where you can dim it down to where you feel most ideal. So that is another option that you can do, and let's go ahead and turn that off and look at maybe a third option. And that third option would be, you know, could we go with the slimline similar like this? Yes, we can, but again, we have that same issue with regards to this post coming down here. Let's go ahead and show the clearance below the heater. So we're not meeting the clearances here, so we would have to bring that out a little bit further so that it's meeting the clearances, and that's approximately 7 inches further out than the 6 that I had before. Now we're heating up the area fairly decently. We're a little bit more intense as far as the intensity of the ray, because we're closer to the sitting position here with this model. And so this would work okay as well. But again, you know, this is why we're doing the 3D, so you can see all those typical issues that we do come across. And we want to make sure that you are going to receive the amount of heat that you're really, really looking for. So let's go ahead and look at one other option. And that last option that I would like to show is placing the heater just right above the sitting position itself. Now this is a CD 5200, so this is 4 feet long, as opposed to the 61 1/4 that I showed before, the 6,000 watt CD series. This is 4 foot long, and you can see that I have it centered within the span, and it looked like the seating positions were slightly off center, so it might be that, you know, you could move the seating position more towards the center, something of that nature, and you'd be right in that ray, and you'd be covered with the heat completely. And just in case you're not aware of how this heat works, this is the shadow of the sunlight that I'm showing right now. And if you were to stand in the shadow of the sun, you would not feel the warmth of the sun in any way. However, the air temperature from here to here in the sunlight, the air temperature is the same. But if you stand into the sunlight itself, you will feel the warmth of the sun, and you will feel much more comfortable on those colder days. And that is how infrared light waves work. As long as you're in that light wave and you're into the maximum footprint, or the ideal footprint of the heat, you will feel the warmth of that ray. And this is what would be my favorite type of application for this particular project here. We're not dealing with the clearances on this beam, and we're meeting all clearances with regards to having the heater mounted in the center point, pointed straight down. You could go with a CD 6000 watt unit, which makes it a little bit wider of a footprint. But if you're looking to just have a position like this where you're heating up a very small section, this would be ideal for me in this particular application. All right, well, I hope this has helped. If you're looking for some assistance with your outdoor heating application and you would like us to review your plan, send your information into designs@patioheat.com. And please, if you like this video, tap that like button. Subscribe to our channel. It really helps. And if you have any questions or comments, place them on that down below here. It really, really helps our channel. And for people who are looking for some assistance, possibly you, that helps them find our channel. So we really, truly appreciate you doing that. Thank you very much. Have an excellent day.